is.
No, I don't think it is. I think the problem is that I don't think you're getting honesty anywhere.
Well,
because everybody has an agenda.
Well, it has me concerned. I'm sure you heard of Mary Joyce, haven't you?
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, Sky something over Cashmere's, North Carolina.com. She's a reporting center out of North Carolina. In fact, she'll be on tomorrow.
Right.
Talking to her, she believes that there are aliens in underground bases in North Carolina, and they're not of the friendly type. They're the type that are basically not friendly towards humans, but we have agreement with technology in exchange for whatever. And that's been something that's been floating around for decades. I mean, there are the Space Brother people who believe more in the Space Brother kind of mentality, where it's like there are Space Brothers, they're coming to help us. They're going to solve the ills of the world. And then on the flip side, you have people who are thinking that they're slowly taking us over, they're colonizing us, and you get about everything in between. Well,
so it's very complicated.
Well, I made the mistake here a few days ago mentioning, that I basically said, okay, you have to look at it this way. We eat cattle. We eat everything below our, below us on this earth, right?
We're an apex predator.
Yeah.
Well, we're the apex predator.
Now, let's say there is aliens from another solar system or wherever, and they're way, way more advanced than us. What stops them from looking at us maybe that we are, that dessert after dinner? I mean, it's that possibility. And then you hear all these people, oh, no, they're warm and fuzzy and friendly, and I don't know.
Well, that's the premise of there's an outer limits that's called to serve man. And that's basically the premise. They come down and they say, okay, we're these big alien nice people, and we're going to help you out. And they give us like all this power, like energy, and they get rid of fossil fuels and everything else. And they say, oh, now what we're going to do, we're not going to force you to come with us, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, a bunch of you, if you're interested, we'll take you to our planet, and you can check it out, and it's really awesome. You're going to love it, right? And so what they did is they left a book behind at the UN, and they finally translated the book, the title of the book first, and it says, to serve man. And so everybody's arguing, well, do they mean to serve them as like they're going to help us, or does it mean to eat us, or, nobody knows, okay? So it goes around and around and around. And finally, at the very end of the episode, they finally translate the entire book, and it's a cookbook. And the guy who had fought vehemently against them finally capitulated and said, you know what? I get it. They're not bad, right? I'm going to go out to the other planet. I'm going to see what it's like. He's getting on the ship. His assistant runs out and goes, to serve man, it's a cookbook. So, you never know. And you're also dealing with an alien thought process. So we're trying to ascribe human thoughts to aliens. And you can't do that because you have no idea how they see the world or the universe or anything else. We have enough problems how we see each other, but they're going to see us in a totally different way. Maybe they see us as cattle. Maybe they see us as containers. That's a good one that was going around for a long time, is that they saw us as containers. It's impossible to tell because they have a completely, unstructured, well, it would be structured to them, but a completely strange way of seeing everything that we think is normal.
Well, don't forget, but don't forget, they would be so much more advanced than we are. So, from the standpoint, we'd be very barbaric to them. And, for the last 50, 60 years, we've been beaming out TV signals, and before that, radio signals, which, takes a long time to get out there in the first place. But they do eventually get out there. So you can imagine what type of TV shows they're watching, and they're thinking, this is what man is. I remember a couple of the Outer Limits and Twilight Zones and all that episodes where, where the aliens kind of looked down at us and figured they're nothing more than, barbaric animals. And that's scary.
We're barbaric ape descendants.
And then you had the late Hawkins, kept begging the world government, stop sending our address out in space. Don't do it because you
don't know who's coming.
Yeah, they might be the ones that come in here and go, oh boy, we're going to just vaporize this planet. Push the button and that's it.
Or they're the way I always try to think about it is that they're like the Volgon constructor fleet. In the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, they're like, oh, we need to destroy the Earth because we're going to have a bypass, for a space freeway, and so they blow the Earth up, and they're like, what do you mean you didn't go to Alpha Centauri and file a complaint?
Yeah,
you might get aliens that completely don't care.
Well, they might.
It's like an ant. No.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know. I mean, you don't know how they respond. No. Maybe they don't have the compassion that we have, but the compassion we also have is the opposite too. So it's we're pretty screwed up as a civilization. That's what scares me.
Sometimes we are. Yeah, and I mean, we don't exactly show a lot of compassion to the people around us. I mean, we all have all the capabilities in the world to just be kind to the people around us, but we won't. And it's sad because like our innovations, our technological innovations, you want them to come from goodness, and you want them to say, okay, well, we created the internet so the people of the world could communicate for a very low price, right? But we didn't. We invented the internet so that we could control ballistic missiles to nuke the Soviets.
Oh yeah.
We figured out how we built the GPS network. Did we build it because we wanted everybody to be able to get to work on time and to circumvent traffic accidents and all this other stuff? No, we did it so that the military could do high level precision bombing and other stuff. So it's always hidden that a lot of these innovations that we have are from the military, and a lot of the innovations that we experience come from a place of wanting to be able to blow up other people. And it's sad. I think it's sad.
I do. And you realize this, if there is aliens out there, if they really wanted to take us out, the fastest way, destroy all our satellites.
Oh, sure.
And maybe do a little bit of whatever, to wipe out.
Or set off a series of EMP blasts in the upper atmosphere, and you'd reduce us to the Stone Age. We would no longer be having this conversation.
Oh, yeah. And what?
But again,
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, what I was going to say is that, for me, for my 10 cents, when I look at things like Star Wars, and I look at things like the Secret Space Program, I see something that was built for two reasons. Well, potentially three reasons, right? One is to get out there and to explore, because we are explorers, we are adventurers. Humanity does want to venture forth, right? So you can't take that out of the equation. But I see disaster preparedness, and I see fighting somebody else. Those are the three things that I see. They're preparing for the end of the world. They're ready to fight somebody else, who I think I know who they are. They're ready to fight them, and maybe we want to see the rings of Saturn with our own human eyes. It's always that venture forth thing always comes in a distant third.
Well, what it gets me though is why we never went back to the moon. I mean, we made a couple landings on the moon. And, we had a couple of astronauts, actually admit towards their older age, because you get to a certain age, right? You're not so scared of dying anymore as when you're 30 and 40 and 50, you're kind of scared about dying. So if somebody threatens to kill you,
oh, sure.
You take that serious. Yeah. But when you get in your 70s, you really don't care, because every day you wake up is a blessed, whatever, at least for most people. Yeah. You had a couple of them say that when they were on the moon, they saw spaceships, and they weren't from our planet, and that makes you wonder what's going on. Then, here we are, right? Supposedly so broke, technically, financially, I should say, that, we couldn't go back to the moon. We couldn't come back up with something for space shuttles, because, when they retired them, we really didn't have anything, so we're hitching a ride with the Russians to get up to the space station.
Right.
But now we're going to create a so-called Space Force, which I have my gut feeling it's already been there, like you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's coming out because my gut feeling is I think something's coming down the road eventually, and they know it, and they're trying to get people solely prepared for it.
Well, this is my take on it, right? We can't afford to go back to the moon, right? And it's too complicated to do it now, right? But we can spend billions, bombing other countries, and we can spend billions and billions and billions of dollars on all sorts of stuff that just doesn't work. But we can't spend the money to build a spaceship to go to the moon. It's ridiculous. And I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I do think something's coming, but I think the bigger question is not so much what's coming, because in my mind I think it's a little ways away. But I think the bigger question is that are they having problems covering it up?
Yeah,
and I think that's the genesis of the problem. Is that just like the other night, the sun is setting now, but I was on late at night on a radio show. And I was just sitting out here, and we were talking about the secret space program and all the kind of wacky stuff that I research, and I'm just sitting here. I'm in my backyard. I'm not doing anything special. I'm nobody special, and I saw something crazy fly through the air. And it was at high altitude, and I'm on the radio. I'm explaining to them that I'm watching this thing go by, and it was extremely high altitude, and it made a very, very sharp turn, and it flared, and then it kind of vanished, and it might have had some adaptive camouflage going on, but it's like I'm just sitting in my backyard, right? There are a million people just like me. Let's say if you say 1 in 100 odds, right? That means that every night there are 3 million people, 3.6 million people that see some weird stuff in the sky. That's 1 in 100 odds. And you can't cover that up forever. You can't keep hiding it because it just becomes too obvious.
Well, right? You're so right. That's back in around 2002, 2003, I was running. I was a general manager for a professional camera store. We had 3 camera stores for professionals, but we would import in, at the time, some Czechoslovakian and Russian infrared binoculars. And I took a pair home over the weekend one time. I wanted to just play around with it, and I got tired of looking things on the ground, so I aimed it up and started looking at the stars. Uh-huh. I see things that you wouldn't see with a telescope or a pair of regular binoculars. I saw things just zooming, coming almost to a dead stop, and then turning at a 90-degree angle and going another direction. I don't know any asteroid can do that. I don't know any comet that can do that, let alone, even a satellite do that. And that kind of like...
A satellite can't do that.
No. And then there was an observatory up in Puyallup, Washington. I called him up, on that Monday, and I said, hey, I took a pair of, such and such infrared binoculars home. I stared at the skies, and I saw this. The next thing I knew, they were coming to the place. I loaned them a pair. They saw the same type of stuff going on. Maybe not every night, but they were seeing strange things. The next thing I know, all the members from that group bought them, and they were, for a long time, they were giving me reports of all these things out there that were just zigging and zagging all over in space.
Sure.
We're not talking about... We weren't talking about 1 or 2 things. I mean, you'd be out there some nights and you'd see a couple of them, like it was just real weird. And nowadays you can, instead of dropping $1,300 or $1,400 or $2,000 for a pair, you can go on to the internet and get a pair for $150. And I recommend it. If you don't believe that there's something going on out there, get a pair, go out there late at night when the light pollution isn't bad, and stare.
Just stare at the sky without anything. You'll see it. I mean, I have a pair of night vision. I have a night vision monocular, is a generation 2 plus, so